Hi guys, and welcome back to class. Right now, I want you to look at page 101 inside of All Quiet on the Western Front. And I want you to read that page. How would you sketch or draw what's happening in the paragraph? Please share on Flipgrid. So, for your content framing question for this lesson, we're going to be in our organized stage. What's happening in a film adaptation of All Quiet on the Western Front? So we're going to be watching a short film of All Quiet on the Western Front, and you should be able to tell me what's happening on that film. So we're going to look at this film, and when we look at it, I want you guys to ask yourselves, what do you notice?
Distance has been on all of our minds lately. That we've been too close.
This is going to be a film adaptation of All Quiet on the Western Front. I want you guys to watch it and tell me, what do you notice? So again, what did you notice? So some things that you may have noticed was that the sounds of the bombs were going off. Really, what? There were lots of what, and all that you see is what. They look like they were fighting at the front, and the scene is really what? it is hard to tell what, and the camera sometimes shows one soldier what. So this is some sentence stems to help you guys figure out what it is that you all noticed. You don't necessarily need to use these, but it can help guide you into some of the things that I want you guys to notice. So a little bit of background about what we just watched. The film adaptation of All Quiet on the Western Front was made by the director Louis Milestone, and it was released in 1930. This was not long after World War I ended. Milestone participated in World War I, so he's the one who created this film, and he was a member of the Army Signal Corps. He made educational short films for the U.S. troops. Now I want you guys to look at handout 21A, Film Techniques. So as you analyze shots and scenes, ask yourself, how does a film technique affect my reaction to a scene or a shot? How does a film technique affect my understanding of the central focus or the subject? How does a film technique affect my understanding of the meaning? You're going to answer these questions. But first, let's look at some visual techniques. A visual technique could be an example of maybe a shot selection. This is when a shot frames what the viewer sees. So maybe it focuses in on one specific thing. Maybe there's a close-up where it's trying to emphasize details. Maybe there's a close-up that indicates something that is important. Maybe the close-up emphasizes an emotion. Maybe you can see how a person feels or looks as you're watching them. A medium shot frame is about half of the object, with people that are shot only from the waist up. There is a medium distance from the viewer in the scene. A long shot or a wide shot extends the distance by showing the foreground or the background, and it creates a broad picture that can emphasize the distance between things or create a relationship between different things in the frame. So for example, and this is just a quick example for what it is that I'm looking at. If you look at the film, look how this is a wide shot. I can see people here, I can see people over there, and I can see how far away it is. But right here, this is an example of a close-up or a close shot because now I'm looking directly at one thing or one person. And this is going to tell me that whoever this person is important. That's what you're going to be looking at when you think about film techniques. As you're going through, I want you to give an example of each type of shot using the film techniques that we just looked at. Where did you see a close-up? Where did you see a medium shot? Where did you see a long shot? And what were they trying to signify or signal or emphasize? So for an example, a close-up, if we were trying to do a close-up of our classroom. Now I know that some of you guys are at home, but you can still remember what it was like to be in a classroom. If I wanted to do a close-up of our classroom, I could focus on a student's face as they take a test to show that they're concentrating. That would be me closing up on a person, a close-up. Or I could focus on a student who raises their hand to show that they're interested in what it is that we're learning. Or I could do a close-up to focus on someone's face as they talk to show that whatever they're saying is important and that I need to pay attention to that. This is a reason why sometimes close-ups are used. Remember that you've already examined this chapter. We're looking at chapter 6, and we have also studied the conditions on the front end focusing question task 2. I want you to pay attention to the visual images and watch the scene which occurs right before the scene and the first clip. So again, you should watch the video. This is a different
Distance has been on all of our minds lately.
So, this film was called Before the Storm. The moving picture of the film is composed of a series of still images, and each one in which is called a frame. You will perform a close reading of the film by thinking about it as a series of frames. Examine what fills the frame at different places in the clip. So, for example, this is a frame. This first frame, we see them at rest and are in their pill boxes. Remember, we call these pill boxes as they're sleeping. Then we see another frame. Here. Now we see them hurrying to the trenches. Then we see another frame of them focusing on a particular soldier. Then they go back to the trench and they scour over the soldiers. Then we see the openness. Then we see the trench again. Then we see the openness again, or the no man's land. Then we see the trench again, and so forth. So what would you write to give me a step-by-step of each frame? So what I would do is watch the first 12 seconds of the clip and pause it, and then jot down what's happening. What kind of shot is this, and how do you know? Read the camera angle of the section of our visual techniques. So here you'll have camera angle. This will help you show what it is that you're looking at. Are you looking at high angle or an eye level or a low angle or oblique angle, and exactly what is happening? So you would pick the angle and then give a brief description of what's happening in that angle. What's happening with the editing? Jot down some notes of the visual techniques that you see. What are some effects of the tracking shot or the shot reverse shot? Again, when you ask that question, here's editing and camera movement, lighting, diegetic sound or non-diegetic sound, or all sound. So you're going to be finding examples of this stuff in the clip and answering the questions. Again, we're going to continue to analyze our visual techniques and see what visual patterns that are happening in the scene. What type of techniques affect the viewer's response of what's happening. To end this lesson, I want you to answer the question in our organized stage. What's happening in a film adaptation of All Quiet on the Western Front? In other words, what type of techniques are being used and why? And what's happening in the film? What are they trying to get us to pay close attention to? This is what your paragraph should be about in order to answer this question. For homework, I want you to read pages 199 to 209 and annotate for your assigned character's thoughts after Kaiser's visit. Now on to our vocabulary deep dive. I want you to create 2 poses. One pose to capture the meaning of active and another of the meaning of passive. Look around the room. So if everyone takes an active pose, what would that look like? An active pose would be maybe someone doing something. A passive pose would be someone not doing something or being passive. Definition of active is constantly doing something, whereas passive means receiving an action without acting in return. So look at these sentence pairs. The German soldiers kill many French soldiers. The French soldiers were killed by the German soldiers. Write these sentences in the appropriate spacing on your T-chart. So in other words, which one of those phrases is active and which one is passive? The movie clip showed a loud, violent scene. A loud, violent scene was shown by the movie clip. Which one is active or passive? So let's think about what makes a sentence an active verb. What makes a sentence an active verb is that an active verb voice sentences don't contain a helping verb, and active voice sentences are shorter. In the active voice sentences, the subject completes the action verb. In the passive voice sentences, the subject is moved to the end of the sentence and is in the object of a preposition. So for example, copy this T-chart inside of your workbook and then complete part 2 of handout 21B. Part 2 is here. Write an A in front of the sentence if the verb is active and a P if the verb is passive. That's going to be it for today's lesson. Once again, if you need any help, I'm in office hours every day between 11:22 a.m. and 12:06 p.m. Goodbye. See you next time.